In the next place, if he did labor only on his own account, like the rest, why should his act be human, those of the rest unhuman, i.e., egoistic? Perhaps because this book, painting, symphony, etc., is the labor of his whole being, because he has done his best in it, has spread himself out wholly, and is wholly to be known from it, while the work of a handicraftsman mirrors only the handcraftsman, i.e., the skill in handicraft, not the man. In his poems we have the whole skiller. In so many hundred stoves, on the other hand, we have before us only the stove maker, not the man. But does this mean more than, in the one work you see me as completely as possible, in the other only my skill? Is it not me again that the act expresses? And is it not more egoistic to offer oneself to the world in a work, to work out and shape oneself, than to remain concealed behind one's labor? You say, to be sure, that you are revealing man, but the man that you reveal is you. You reveal only yourself, yet with this distinction from the handicraftsman, that he does not understand how to compress himself into one labor, but, in order to be known as himself, must be searched out in his other relations of life, and that your want, through whose satisfaction the work came into being, was a theoretical want. But you will reply that you reveal quite another man, a worthier, higher, greater, a man that is more than the other. I'll assume that you accomplish all that is possible to man, that you bring to pass what no other succeeds in. Wherein, then, does your greatness consist? Precisely in this, that you are more than other men, the masses, more than men ordinarily are, more than ordinary men, precisely in your elevation above men. You are distinguished beyond other men, not by being man, but because you are unique man. Doubtless that you show what a man can do, but because you, a man, do it, this by no means shows that others, also men, are able to do as much. You have executed it only as a unique man, and are unique therein. It is not man that makes up your greatness, but you create it, but because you are more than man, mightier than other men. It is believed that one cannot be more than men, rather one cannot be less. It is believed further that whatever one attains is good for man, insofar as I remain at all times a man, or like Schiller a Swabian, like Kant a Prussian, like Gustavus Adolphus a near-sighted person, I certainly become, by my superior qualities, a notable man, Swabian, Prussian, or near-sighted person. For the case is not much better than with Frederick the Great's cane, which became famous for Frederick's sake. To give God the glory corresponds to the modern give man the glory, but I mean to keep it for myself. Criticism, issuing the summons to man to be human, enunciates the necessary condition of sociability, for only as a man among men is one companionable. Herewith it makes known its social object, the establishment of human society. Among social theories, criticism is indisputably the most complete, because it removes and deprives of value everything that separates man from man, all prerogatives down to the prerogative of faith. In it, the love principle of Christianity, the true social principle, comes to the purest fulfillment, and the last possible experiment is tried to take away exclusiveness and repulsion from men, a fight against egoism, in its simplest and therefore hardest form, in the form of singleness, exclusiveness itself. How can you live a truly social life so long as even one exclusiveness still exists between you? I ask conversely, how can you be truly single so long as even one connection still exists between you? If you are connected, you cannot leave each other. If a tie clasps you, you are something only with another, and 12 of you makes thousands of you a people, millions of you humanity. Only when you are human can you keep company with each other as men, just as you can understand each other as patriots only when you are patriotic. All right, then I answer, only when you are single can you have intercourse with each other as what you are. It is precisely the keenest critic who is hit hardest by the curse of his principle. Putting from him one exclusive thing after another, shaking off churchliness, patriotism, etc., He undoes one tie after another and separates himself from the churchly man, from the patriot, till at last, when all ties are undone, he stands alone. He of all man must exclude all that have anything exclusive or private, and when you get to the bottom, what can be more exclusive than the exclusive single person himself? Or does he perhaps think that the situation would be better if all became man and gave up exclusiveness? Why, for the very reason that all means every individual, the most glaring contradiction is still maintained. For the individual is exclusiveness itself. If the humane liberal no longer concedes to the individual anything private or exclusive, any private thought, any private folly, if he criticizes everything away from him before his face, since his hatred of the private is an absolute and fanatical hatred, if he knows no tolerance toward what is private because everything private is unhuman, yet he cannot criticize away the private person himself, since the hardness of the individual person resists his criticism, and he must be satisfied with declaring this person a private person, and really leaving everything private to him again. What will the society that no longer cares about anything private do? Make the private impossible? No, but subordinate it to the interests of society, and leaves it to its private will to institute holidays as many as it chooses, if only it does not come in collision with the general interest. Everything private is left free. It has no interest for society. But they're raising barriers against science. The church and religiousness have declared that they are what they always were, only that this was hidden under semblance when they were proclaimed to be the basis and necessary foundation of the state, a matter of purely private concern. Even when they were connected with the state and made it Christian, they were only the proof that the state had not yet developed its general political idea, and that it was only instituting private rights. They were only the highest expression for the fact that the state was a private affair and had to do only with private affairs. When the state shall at last have the courage and strength to fulfill its general destiny and to be free, when, therefore, it is all able to give separate interests and private concerns their true position, then religion and the church will be free as they have never been hitherto. As a matter of the most purely private concern and a satisfaction of purely personal want, they will be left to themselves, and every individual, every congregation and ecclesiastical communion will be able to care for the blessedness of their souls, as they choose and as they think necessary. Everyone will care for his soul's blessedness, so far as it is to him a personal want, and will accept as pay, as spiritual caretaker, the one who seems to him to offer the best guarantee for the satisfaction of his wants. Science is at last left entirely out of the game. But what is to happen, though? Is social life to have an end, and all affability, all fraternization, everything that is created by the love or society principle to disappear? As if one will not always seek the other because he needs them, as if one must accommodate himself to the other when he needs him. But the difference is this, that then the individual really unites with the individual, while formerly they were bound together by a tie. Son and father are bound together before majority. After it, they come together independently. Before it, they belong together as members of the family. After it, they unite as egoists. Sonship and fatherhood remain, but son and father no longer pin themselves down to these. The last privilege, in truth, is man. With it, all are privileged or invested. For, as Bruner Bauer himself says, privilege remains even when it is extended to all. Thus, liberalism runs its course in the following transformations. First, the individual is not man. Therefore, his individual personality is of no account. No personal will, nor arbitrariness, no orders or mandates. Second, the individual has nothing to human, therefore no mine and thine, or property is valid. Third, as the individual neither is man nor has anything human, he shall not exist at all. He shall, as an egoist with his egoistic belongings, be annihilated by criticism to make room for man, just discovered. But although the individual is not man, man is yet presented in the individual and, like every spook and every divine, has its existence in him. Hence, political liberalism awards to the individual everything that pertains to him as a man by birth, as a born man, among which there are counted liberty of conscience, the possession of goods, etc. In short, the rights of man. Socialism grants to the individual what pertains to him as an active man, as a laboring man. Finally, humane liberalism gives the individual what he has as a man, i.e., everything that belongs to humanity. Accordingly, the single one has nothing at all, humanity everything, and the necessity of the regeneration preached in Christianity is demanded unambiguously and in the completest measure. Become a new creature. Become man. One might even think himself reminded of the close of the Lord's Prayer. To man belongs the lordship, the power, or dynamis. Therefore, no individual may be lord, but man is the lord of individuals. Man's is the kingdom, i.e., the world consequently. The individual is not to be a proprietor, but man, all, command the world as property. To man is due renown, glorification, or glory, doxa, from all. For man, or humanity, is the individual's end, for which he labors, thinks, lives, and for whose glorification he must become man. Hitherto, men have always striven to find out a fellowship in which their inequalities in other respects should become non-essential. They strove for equalization, consequently for equality, and wanted to come all under one hat, which means nothing less than that they were seeking for one Lord, one tie, one faith. 'Tis in one God we all believe. There cannot be for men anything more fellowly or more equal than man himself, and in the fellowship the love-craving has found its containment. It did not rest till it had brought on this last equalization, leveled all inequality, laid man on the breast of man. But under this very fellowship decay and ruin become most glaring. In a more limited fellowship the Frenchman still stood against the German, the Christian against the Mohammedan, etc. Now, on the contrary, man stands against men, or as men, not man. Man stands against the unman. The sentence, God has become man, is now followed by the other, man has become I. This is the human one, but we invert it and say, I was not able to find myself so long as I sought myself as man. But now that it appears that man is aspiring to become I and to gain a corporeity in me, I note that, after all, everything depends on me, and man is lost without me. But I do not care to give myself up to the shrine of this most holy thing, and shall not ask henceforth whether I am man or unman in what I see about. Let the spirit keep off my neck. Humane liberalism goes to the work radically. If you want to be or have anything especial even in one point, if you want to retain for yourself even one prerogative above others, to claim even one right that is not a general right of man, you are an egoist. Very good. I do not want to have or to be anything especial above others. I do not want to claim any prerogative against them. But I do not measure myself by others either, and do not want to have any right whatever. I want to be all and have all that I can be and have. When others are and have anything similar, what do I care? The equal, the same. They can neither be nor have. I cause no detriment to them, as I cause no detriment to the rock by being ahead of it, in having motion. If they could have it, they would have it. To cause other men no detriment is the point of the demand, to possess no prerogative, to renounce all being ahead, the strictest theory of renunciation. One is not to count himself as anything especial, e.g., a Jew or Christian. Well, I do not count myself as anything especial, but as unique. Doubtless I have similarity with others, yet that holds good only for comparison or reflection. In fact, I am incomparable, unique. My flesh is not their flesh, my mind is not their mind. If you bring them under the generalities, flesh, mind, those are your thoughts, which have nothing to do with my flesh, my mind, and can least of all issue a call to mine. I do not want to recognize or respect in you anything, neither the proprietor nor the ragamuffin, nor even the man, but to use you. In salt I find that it makes food palatable to me, therefore I dissolve it. In the fish I recognize an aliment, therefore I eat it. In you, I discover the gift of making my life agreeable. Therefore, I choose you as companion. Or in salt, I study crystallization, in the fish, animality, or in you, men, etc. But to me, you are only what you are for me, to wit, my object, and because my object, therefore my property. In humane liberalism, ragamuffin-hood is completed. We must first come down to the most ragamuffin-like, most poverty-stricken condition if we want to arrive at ownness, for we must strip off everything alien, but nothing seems more ragamuffin-like than naked man. It is more than ragamuffin-hood, however, when I throw away man too, because I feel that he too is alien to me, and that T can make no pretensions on that basis. That is no longer mere ragamuffin-hood, because even the last rag has fallen off. Here stands real nakedness, denudation of everything alien. The ragamuffin has stripped off ragamuffin-hood itself, and therefore has ceased to be what he was, a ragamuffin. I am no longer a ragamuffin, but have been one. Up to this time, the discord could not come to an outbreak, because properly there is currently only a contention of modern liberals with antiquated liberals, a contention of those who understand freedom in a small measure and those who want the full measure of freedom, of the moderate and measureless, therefore. Everything turns on the question, how free must man be? This man must be free, in this all believe, therefore all are liberals too. But the unman, who is somewhere in every individual, how is he blocked? How can it be arranged not to leave the unman free at the same time with man? Liberalism as a whole has a deadly enemy, an invincible opposite, as God has the devil. By the side of man stands always the unman, the individual, the egoist. State, society, humanity do not master this devil. Humane liberalism has undertaken the task of showing other liberals that they still do not want freedom. If the other liberals had before their eyes only isolated egoism and were for the most part blind, radical liberalism has against it egoism in mass, throws among the masses all who do not make the cause of freedom their own, as it does, so that now man and unman, rigorously separated, stand over against each other as enemies, to wit, the masses and criticism, namely free human criticism, as it is called, in opposition to crude, that is, religious criticism. Criticism expresses in the hope that it will be victorious over all the masses and give them a general certificate of insolvency. So it means finally to make itself out in the right and to represent all contention of the faint-hearted and timorous as an egoistic stubbornness, as pettiness, paltriness, all wrangling loses significance, and petty dissensions are given up, because in criticism of a common entity enters the field, you are egoists altogether, no one better than another. Now the egoists stand together against criticism. Really, the egoists? No, they fight against criticism precisely because it accuses them of egoism. They do not plead guilty of egoism. Accordingly, criticism and the masses stand on the same basis. Both fight against egoism. Both repudiate it for themselves and charge it to each other. Criticism and the masses pursue the same goal, freedom from egoism, and wrangle only over which of them approaches nearest to the goal or even attains it. The Jews, the Christians, the absolutists, the men of darkness and men of light, politicians, communists, all, in short, hold the reproach of egoism far from them, and, as criticism brings against them this reproach in plain terms and in the most extended sense, all justify themselves against the accusation of egoism and combat egoism, the same enemy with whom criticism wages war. Both, criticism and masses, are enemies of egoists, and both seek to liberate themselves from egoism, as well as by clearing or whitewashing themselves as ascribing to it the opposite party. The critic is the true spokesman of the masses, who gives them the simplest concept and the phrase of egoism, while the spokesman, to whom the triumph is denied, were only bunglers. He is their prince and general in the war against egoism for freedom. What he fights against, they fight against, but at the same time he is their enemy too, only not the enemy before them, but the friendly enemy who wields the knout behind the timorous to force courage into them. Hereby, the opposition of criticism and the masses is reduced to the following contradiction. You are egoists. No, we are not. I will prove it to you. You shall have our justification. Let us then take both for what they give themselves out for, non-egoists, and what they take each other for, egoists. They are egoists and are not. Properly, criticism says you must liberate your ego from all limitness so entirely that it becomes a human ego. I say, liberate yourself as far as you can, and you have done your part, for it is not given to every one to break through all limits, or, more expressively, not to every one is that a limit which is a limit for the rest. Consequently, do not tie yourself with tolling at the limits of others. Enough if you tear down yours. What has ever succeeded in tearing down even one limit for all men? Are not countless persons today, as at all times, running about with all the limitations of humanity? He who overturns one of his limits may have shown others the way and the means. The overturning of their limits remain their affair. Nobody denies anything else either. To demand other people that they become holy men is to call on them to cast down all human limits. That is impossible, because man has no limits. I have some indeed, but then it is only mine that concern me any, and only they can be overcome by me. A human ego I cannot become, just because I am, and not merely man. Yet let us still see whether criticism has not taught us something that we lay to heart. I am not free if I am not without interest, not man if I am not disinterested. Well, even if it makes little difference to me to be free or man, yet I do not want to leave unused any occasion to realize myself or make myself count. Criticism offers me this occasion by the teaching that if anything plants itself firmly in me and becomes indissoluble, I become its prisoner and servant, i.e., a possessed man, an interest, be it for what it may, has kidnapped a slave in me, and if I cannot get away from it and is no longer my property, but I am its, let us therefore accept criticism lesson to let no part of our property become stable, and to feel comfortable only in dissolving it. So, if criticism says, you are man only when you are restlessly criticizing and then dissolving, then we say, man, I am without that, and am likewise. Therefore, I want only to be careful to secure my property to myself, and, in order to secure it, I continually take it back to myself, annihilate in it every movement toward independence, and swallow it before it can fix itself and become a fixed idea, or a mania. But I do that not for the sake of my human calling, but because I call myself to it. I do not strut about dissolving everything that it is possible for a man to dissolve, and, while not yet 10 years old, I do not criticize the nonsense of the commandments but I am the man all the same, and act humanity in just this, and that I still leave them uncriticized. In short, I have no calling, and follow none, not even that to be a man. Do I now reject what liberalism has won in its various exertions? Far be the day that anything won should be lost. Only after man has become free through liberalism, I turn my gaze upon myself and confess to myself openly, what man seems to have gained, I alone have gained. Man is free when man is to man the supreme being. So it belongs to the completion of liberalism that every other supreme being be annulled, theology overturned by anthropology, God and his grace left down, atheism universal. The egoism of property has given up the last that it had to give when even the my God has become senseless, for God exists only when he is at the heart of the individual's welfare, as the latter seeks his welfare in him. Political liberalism abolished the inequality of masters and servants. It made people masterless, anarchic. The master has now removed from the individual the egoist to become a ghost, the law, or the state. Social liberalism abolishes the inequality of possession of the poor and rich and makes people possessionless or propertyless. Property is withdrawn from the individual and surrendered to ghostly society. Humane liberalism makes people godless, atheistic. Therefore, the individual's God, my God, must be put an end to. Now, masterlessness is indeed at the same time freedom from service, possessionlessness at the same time freedom from care, and goodlessness at the same time freedom from prejudice. For with the master that servant falls away, with possession the care about it, with the firmly rooted God, prejudice. But since the master rises again as state, the servants appear again as subject. Since possession becomes the property of society, care is begotten anew as labor. Since God as man becomes a new prejudice, therefore arises a new faith, faith in humanity or liberty. For the individual's God, the God of all, vis-a-vis man, is now exalted, for it is the highest thing in us all to be man. But as nobody can become entirely what the idea man imports, man remains the individual, a lofty other world, an unattained supreme being, a God. But at the same time, this is the true God because he is fully adequate to us, to wit, our own self. We ourselves, but separated from us and lifted above us.